I'm going to jump ahead a year or two, and I'm going to explain why I'm jumping ahead a year or two. The goal, now they filed Chapter 11. How do you get out of Chapter 11? How long do you stay in Chapter 11? The goal of Chapter 11 is something called the Plan of Reorganization. That's the goal. The Plan of Reorganization is a big, thick document, somewhere between 25 and 200 pages, and in this case it'll be closer to 200, that tells how the company will be reorganized, to be repetitive, to redundant. In short, it divides creditors and shareholders into classes, pre-petition creditors and all the shareholders into classes. It says how they will be paid, when they'll be paid, how much they'll be paid. It answers a question. Remember we said bankruptcy is a forum. When do I get paid? How much do I get paid? How are you going to pay me? And who's going to control the company? The Plan of Reorganization answers those questions. And remember we talked about one of the jobs of the Creditors Committee and the Note Holders Committee is to meet with the debtor and investigate the debtor's assets and his business and negotiate the plan. And in the best case, the plan is consensual. Everybody supports the plan. It divides creditors and shareholders into classes. It says how they'll get paid. The Plan of Reorganization will also include some kind of business plan to talk about how the companies will operate going forward. And it talks about who the management is. Now, if there's any bankruptcy lawyers in the crowd, you know that I've simplified. What I'm saying is accurate but simplified, but it's all true. That's what the Plan of Reorganization is. Creditors get to vote on the plan. In Chapter 11, creditors get to vote as to whether or not they accept the Plan of Reorganization. And following the vote, the court will have a hearing to consider whether to confirm the plan. A confirmed plan is the end of the bankruptcy case. The court confirms the plan. Creditors might vote yes, and the court could say, I'm sorry, creditors, you like it, but I'm not going to confirm it. That's rare. Creditors could vote no. And under certain circumstances, the court could say, I don't care if you voted no, or some groups of you voted no, I'm going to confirm the plan anyway. That's also rare. Normally, the court will not confirm a plan that hasn't received approval from the creditor. The plan can say a lot of things, but there are certain rules with respect to payments, and this is one of the questions I got asked. There's a certain hierarchy of who gets paid, and this is simplified, but the first people get paid are priority claims. Priority claims include your wages post-bankruptcy. So that's why you're tops on the list. They can't confirm a plan if those wages and vendors who provided widgets post-bankruptcy get paid. They get paid first. I'm pleased to say that the lawyers are included in this group. The bankruptcy lawyers for Palco and for the Creditors Committee and for anybody else who can convince the court they deserve to be paid will get paid first in this group. Certain pre-bankruptcy wage claims will be paid if, and this is very rare because normally your benefits and wages if you're a continuing employee will be kept current. And here's a timely question. Do individual creditors get to vote on the reorganization plan or just the committees? Every creditor gets to vote. Now it's a little tricky. If they dispute your claim, maybe you don't get to vote. But if you have an allowed claim, every creditor gets to vote. You vote by classes. So there will almost certainly be a class of note holders, and the note holders get to vote. Unsecured creditors get to vote. Those are the two big classes, but they may be divided, and the unsecured creditors of Palco will be classified separately from the unsecured creditors of Scotia. But each class gets to vote, and each class has to approve the plan. So the answer is individual creditors get to vote. Priority claims get paid first. Secured claims, and you can't confirm a plan if the priority claims aren't paid in full. Secured claims are entitled to be paid in full up to the value of the collateral. Well, you can see, we're going to talk about this in the next 20 minutes till we're blue in the face, but you can see all of a sudden how much is that timberland worth is a big issue. The note holders are entitled to be paid in full up to the value of their collateral. Now, that doesn't mean they get paid. If their timberland is worth $500 million, doesn't mean they get a check for $500 million. But they get notes or value or something worth $500 million. And if they don't, you can't confirm the plan. So there's going to be a fight for a lot of reasons, but there's going to be a fight as to what the timberland is worth because that's what they're entitled to. Unsecured creditors aren't entitled to anything in the same way, but unsecured creditors are entitled to be paid in full before the shareholders get anything. Now let's look at your chart here. The shareholder of the bankrupt companies, these companies are the bankrupt companies, the shareholder is Maxim Group Inc., which is just an office somewhere. Maxim Group Inc. is worse than the Corpus Christi phone booth. That really doesn't, they don't even have an office. That's just a file drawer with a couple of pieces of paper in it. The shareholder is Maxim and Charles Hurwitz. The unsecured creditors of Palco have to be, under the rules, they have to be paid in full before the shareholders get anything. What's the exception? There's an exception. If he proposes a plan that says, I get to keep control of the company and the shareholder and the unsecured creditors take 90 cents on the dollar and everybody votes yes, that's okay. But without the unsecured creditors' consent, Maxim, the shareholder, can't retain control. So what does this mean? There's a very important corollary here. If the value of the assets are more than the claims, the shareholder gets to keep control. If the value of the assets are less than the claims, in most cases, the shareholder will lose control. And let me show you another example here. Let's say hypothetically, and I'm making these numbers up, they don't mean anything. Let's say hypothetically, we all agreed that Palco is worth $1 billion. That $1 billion? Yes. And they owe $716 million. And Charles Hurwitz owned all the stock. Now, all of these things are wrong. This number's right. That number's wrong, and he doesn't own all the stock. There's other shareholders up here. And also there's the intermediate holding companies, and it's not just Palco, it's a bunch of companies. But we'll just use this as an example. If the company was worth $1 billion, and he only owed $716 million, and he couldn't make the payments, it wouldn't be right to take it away from him.